Hey guys, how's it going today? Patrick here, back with you. Welcome to the first of what I hope to be a number of joint projects with other creators, other creative types. Barry, Scott, Will, and I have been friends for 20 some odd years, but we've never actually really talked. He lives hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles away. So this is a first in better than 2 decades where we sit down via video chat, face to virtual face, and talk about games and Star Trek and writing and things like that. We had sat down and said, let's talk for about an hour. We went nearly 2. So, as usual, I'm going to ask you to help out my channel, like the videos, subscribe, ask for notifications, tell your friends. But I'm also going to ask you to go over to Barry's, and the address is down there in the description. Ask you to go take a look at his channel. We both, recorded this. We're both posting the videos. We're taking a kind of a different approach to editing things. He's actually making logical choices about which parts of the conversation belong where. I'm just kind of chopping it into size manageable chunks. But we had a lot of fun. We'll be doing this again. I'm hoping in the not terribly distant future to also be doing this with some other creative types. So, like I said, sit back and enjoy this. This first segment, we're talking mostly about Star Trek. Other segments will be coming up talking about games and writing and things of that nature. So, sit back and enjoy it. Thank you very much. So, how's it been, man?
Well, it's been. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time we've actually communicated face to face, and not via Usenet posts and things like that.
I think we may have talked on the phone once or twice, 20 years ago.
But
actually sitting down and talking, seeing each other on the screen there.
Yeah.
No, not. I think this might be the first.
In 20-something years.
Let's see. MSN came out with Windows 95. Star Trek folders came. We were griping about Voyager.
Yeah, so it would have been mid-90s somewhere.
It had been 96-ish when we started those forums on MSN, back when it was still an MSN client and not just a web page.
Yeah.
Oh, heavens. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time.
20-odd years, 30-odd pounds, 2 jobs, 3 kids later.
Yeah, 3 kids for you, 3 kids for me. That's 6 kids total.
Yeah, you were already on the way. I mean, I'm a latecomer to all this. I think your youngest may be older than my oldest. She's 12.
Yeah, my youngest is 14. I've got a 19-year-old college freshman. So
he's 19.
Just turned 19.
Oh my gosh!
You remember when he was born?
I do. Yes, I remember that announcement.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so we're on the same page. We're both agreed that Voyager is still terrible.
I detest Voyager. Yes.
I mean, and I hate saying that because there are a few episodes I actually kind of enjoyed, but for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I think I gave up after the 2nd season, and so I wouldn't even know if there were any good ones after that. I just kind of went, bleh.
You want to know what's ironic? You've heard me rail about Brandon Braga because I was not a fan for a lot of years.
Yeah,
You want to know what's really ironic about the episodes that I liked on Voyager?
they were Bragas.
They're his.
Yeah.
They're his. I have a needle. A couple of this like, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. And you'll probably hear us talk about Trek a lot because we were both born in the year of Trek. Some people are
Indeed.
born in the year of the chicken or the year of the rat, the year of the dog. We were born in the year of Trek. So
Also, the year of the Daikaiju.
I didn't know that.
Someone had a geeky Chinese astrology thing. We were born in the year of the Daikaiju.
Okay. I've
So
seen like
yeah,
this. I've seen like the sci-fi one, and I can't remember which one we're.
I'm useless on that one.
Yeah.
I just like, oh wow, I was born in the year of Godzilla. There we go.
That works. Yeah. All right. So we both really don't like Voyager.
Yeah, I think we've established
Yeah.
that. They're bits and pieces. I mean, there are things about it that I didn't hate, but they were so inconsistent with characterization. You know, one day Janeway's saving the Prime Directive. One day she's wondering how the heck you spell it.
Well, that was what ticked me off. Was the very first episode was a huge violation of the Prime Directive in the name of protecting the Prime Directive. So we're not going to, release ourselves from this, whatever that thing was.
Yeah.
And we're going to contaminate an entire quadrant of the galaxy in the name of saving the Prime Directive, and I could never recover from that particular bit of bad writing.
Oh, there's tons of it. It was horrendous. We're going to create a species that lives for 9 years, and the females can only reproduce once.
Yeah.
Why is the species not extinct?
Well,
it's a point. It's a diminishing numbers game. Your population will always grow smaller.
Yeah, unless you regularly produce twins and triplets. So, but yeah,
they never said anything about multiple Ocampa births. You'd have to produce litters to keep your population going.
Yeah. All right. So, what's your favorite Trek?
I'm still an original series guy. Of the new shows, once they started moving Rick Berman out of the way, I really dig Enterprise. I've always enjoyed that because you didn't have all the Uber technology. I was really they got so abused, the replicators and stuff of that nature. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, Enterprise had its problems. It had lots of problems, but a lot of those problems were named Rick Bergen and the aforementioned Brandon Braga. Once they got those two out of the way and Manny Koto in place, Manny Koto knew what he was doing, and it was moving like gangbusters when they canceled it. And there's a lot of DS9 that I like. Once if I can just start the whole story, watch a little bit of the first episode, and then skip most of season 1 because, like most Star Trek first seasons, it was dreadful. It amazes me that the franchise existed as long as it did, just based on Next Generation's first season. And they really didn't learn.
Yeah, that was the year of the Wesley saving the day, and then they brought in Dr. Pulaski for the second season. And I actually liked her, so of course they got rid of her immediately.
I kind of liked her. except for the part, the part that I didn't like was that she was so blatantly a McCoy ripoff. It's like, we need you to be acerbic and distrustful of technology, and you've got to give Data a hard time every time you turn around. And it just didn't work. I mean, Diana Muldaur is a great actress, but I don't think that character had any business as poorly developed as it was. And since we both write, we both know bad characters when we see them. So it's like,
she was a better.
In case people are watching us going, "What's he talking about? She was great." It's like, no, she was.
She was still better than Crusher. Crusher was a non-entity. At least Pulaski had some kind of personality.
She had some personality. I mean, the writers gave her that much. What they did with Beverly was virtually criminal. I have to agree there. That was pretty bad, which is unfortunate because, again, Gates McFadden was not bad at what she did. She just wasn't given anything to do.
Yeah.
I mean, she was given less to do than Will Wheaton was, and Will Wheaton had the same plot every time he was in an episode.
Mm-hmm.
Smart guy saves ship.
Yeah. It was a bit annoying, but it was Trek. It was new Trek. So I enjoyed it while it was on. I'm not a big fan of going back and watching more than a few episodes.
It's hard to do that. I mean, there at the first couple of, I think it was one of the best episodes of any Trek, and they still had the round collars. They didn't have the stand-up collars yet, so it couldn't have been past season 3. I can't remember. Measure of a Man. That was one of the best episodes of any of the Trek series. I mean, that 700 something episodes of Trek out there. That one is probably in my top 5.
Yeah.
Because I know it had to have been at least second season because they were referring to Tasha Yar in the past tense. But the first couple of seasons were just terrible. They had no idea what they were doing. They had, and I hate to say this, but they had Gene Roddenberry holding them back. He had a very specific vision, and he was in charge this time, which may or may not be a good thing. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but it was just not some of my favorite stuff. And like I say, it's unfortunate. They just. It's not that they lost their way. I don't think they ever had it. It wasn't until after Gene passed away that they, really started getting things together. If he hadn't already died, he'd have had a heart attack watching Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I'm a Deep Space Nine fanboy. I just love it to death, especially once they got Defiant and started developing the huge Dominion War arc.
It's not my favorite, but I have a huge amount of respect because they had a lot more hits than they had misses once they got that thing rolling. I mean, I think one of the best ones. I forget the title. Jake is acting as a reporter, and they're getting shot down. It ends with him closing the cover on his first novel. It had a biblical-inspired title because I love the fact that on Deep Space Nine they got back to the poetic kind of titles on a lot of the episodes. And I know it wasn't let he who is without sin, because that was where Worf goes to rise, and it was one of the stupidest episodes I had ever seen. That was one of the misses. But it was it was in that same time frame. I mean, the development of the characters on DS9, I thought was extraordinarily well done.
Yeah, there wasn't really anybody on that show that wasn't maybe the lounge singer that they brought in the last couple of seasons, the holographic lounge singer. But from Captain Sisko all the way down to Jake and even Nog, and
Well, when you're sitting there, and you know by the time it's over, you're caring as much about Nog and Rom and Lita as you were about Jadzia and Jake and Captain Sisko. Which, considering where those first three characters started, is saying something. I mean, that is character development.
Yeah.
Nog loses a leg in one of the episodes, and it's like, oh God. Are they planning on killing him? What's going on?
Well, they did. Terry Farrell didn't want to re-up for a 7th season, so they actually
they axed her. Yeah,
they killed a major character. That was.
I wish they had done a somewhat better job of it. I thought it seemed kind of rushed. But
yeah, there was.
I felt she went out kind of like a chump, and I didn't think that was fair to Terry Farrell. Even if she did want to leave, I don't think it was fair to and she knew the character was going to die. But I think the writing kind of shortchanged her in that one, although it did give Worf and Martok some great scenes in the next season.
Yeah, I think it established just how nasty. I already forgot Ducat's was. I mean, it was a setup for this guy is a really he is
really
person.
Gone. Yeah. He is really gone. They tried a redemption thing with him, and that but yeah, like I say, I keep going back to Enterprise, especially the last couple of seasons. I'm one of the only people I know who enjoyed the 3rd season. And I thought the 4th was brilliant. I thought the 4th was a great build up to where things were actually going to be going. It's like, oh wow, they actually made the birth of the Federation interesting. And honestly, the numbers weren't any worse than Voyager's 4th season, or Next Generations. I don't think they were as good as DS9's 4th season. That's when DS9 really started hitting its stride. Was end of the 3rd, into the 4th.
Right. Yeah, I missed Enterprise when it was running. That was the time of 3 young kids, and I just wasn't watching much of anything. And I've never gone back and picked up on it, but I think I probably should, based on what you're saying about it.
I see. It is not without its flaws, but I see most of the flaws are. To me, it was Rick and Brannon second guessing what they were trying to do, because they kept showing, the NX-01 encounters an alien ship that has holodeck technology, and it's like, oh, ooh, ah, wouldn't it be neat if we had that? Ooh, ah. And some other place they encounter has replicators, and it was like, Don't you guys miss all this cool stuff that we had on on the 24th Century series, which made you sit there and ask yourself, why did you do this in the first place?
Yeah.
But you turn around and there's some real good characters on there. There's some lame, but they get better. There are issues with one of the characters, T'Pol, and I had issues with how they portrayed the Vulcans in the first couple of seasons because they wanted to, they're trying to go for something. But again, I'm not sure what. One of the things that Manny Cotto did when they started working on the fourth season and really started ramping things up to, because they fully expected to go another couple of years. But when he really started ramping things up was to kind of show what was going on with the Vulcans and fix. His mission was kind of fix some of the issues that had cropped up. I don't think it will replace DS9 as your favorite, but one of the reasons I liked it as much as I did was because of the more primitive. I didn't like the technology solving everything that was happening in the 24th Century series.
Yeah, the infamous technobabble. You just spew out a bunch of nonsense words and hey, problem solved.
And hey, we're gonna shoot.
Yeah,
we're gonna shoot something out of the deflector dish and things like that. It was it was more about the people. But I like the characters. Some of the as it went along, they started picking up on the actors' strengths more. But it comes right down to the fact that what confounds me is this was their, this is the fourth series after the original. This is it baffled me with Voyager why it took them 3 seasons to get an idea of what they should have been doing.
Yeah.
But it took them 3 seasons to get an idea of what they should be doing. And it took a couple of seasons on Enterprise, and then they replaced the showrunner, put Manny in, and started getting things back on track. If they had gone on to into at least a 5th season, I think it would stand up there very strongly with some of the other shows.
Yeah. Now, what about the reboot movies? Have you seen all of those? Because I've only seen the first one.
I have seen all 3 of those. I enjoyed the heck out of the first one. Because I knew it was something completely different. I had no problem with that, and they weren't fooling around.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Chris Pine's Kirk was wonderful. I mean, the scene that really nailed it for me, that this was Jim Kirk. They've landed on the platform, and they've taken out the Remans or the Romulans or whoever, the Romulans, the bad guys who are drilling a hole in Vulcan. Everything's going great guns, and Sulu, who doesn't have a parachute anymore, gets knocked off. He's plummeting to the earth, and Pine's Kirk doesn't even think about it. He jumps off to go save this guy he's been working with. Can't even really call him his friend at this point. They barely know each other. But that, to me, was quintessentially Jim Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was horrendous. So much potential. But they couldn't come up with an original story. We're gonna steal bits and pieces of Wrath of Khan, but not the good ones. We're gonna steal bits and pieces from. Did you ever read Diane Carey's novel Dreadnought?
No.
Okay. There are a lot of places where it's pretty good. There are places where it's really bad. But it's about the Federation class dreadnought from the Franz Joseph technical manual.
Mm-hmm.
Only nobody knew about it. It was being built completely in secret. Sort of like like Peter Weller's ship in Into Darkness. You know, throughout the reboot movies, I had issues with transporting across the solar system. We will beam into the ship orbiting Earth from Titan.
Yeah, or beam into a ship that's at warp speed.
You know, I can even forgive that because it's like someone clearly was having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that was one of the beauties of the first movie. Two of the other beautiful things being Captain Pike, who I really it's like wow. I hope they I hope they come up with a reason to cast him as Pike in the second season of Discovery because they suddenly need a Captain Pike.
Mm-hmm.
He was brilliant. It's like he's given that speech in the bar. It's like your father was captain of a starship for 8 minutes. I dare you to do better. And you believe him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you completely buy into him as this decorated, inspiring captain. I mean, I thought they did a lot of things right. I thought they did a lot of things wrong. I wasn't really wild about the ship being the size of the Death Star, and I didn't mind the fact that they bought everything from the Apple Store, but I mean,
yeah, the only thing that I really enjoyed about the first movie and is why I haven't watched 2 or 3 was Carl Urban's McCoy. He was so dead on.
Yeah, I mean, it was really great of DeForest Kelley to come back from the dead, disguise himself, and go by another actor's name, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was just amazing.
He nailed it. I mean that was breathtaking. He was phenomenal. I liked Zoe Saldana as an Uhura who could do more than what they let Nichelle do.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I think that Nichelle couldn't have done it if it hadn't been 1966 and they had let her.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That was what always got me was they didn't. They couldn't. I mean, there are things that they just couldn't do. I mean, I don't know that I'd have bought Majel Barrett as the first officer for more than the length of the cage.
Mm-hmm.
Nice lady, wonderful lady. I met her a couple of times before she passed away. She's a great, wonderful lady. Not the best actress in the world. On the other hand, nobody else could have done Loxana Troy. Nobody on Earth could have played that part as effectively as she did. And when she moved over to DS9, there are times I'm sitting there watching. Well, maybe I'm judging her a little too harshly.
Yeah, she had some great bits on that show.
The thing that really made me sit up and make me think maybe I am judging her too harshly. it was an early, second or third season episode, and I can't remember what's going on, but Loxana and Odo are trapped in a turbo lift.
I remember that episode, yeah.
And Odo is nearing the point where he absolutely has to revert to liquid because of his physiology. And he's embarrassed to do it in front of this insane, crazy Betazoid woman who is continually making these advances at him, and he's sitting here wondering what the hell he's going to do, and she hands him her wig, and he just looks at it dumbfounded. What is this? That's my hair. Everything about me is a mask. And she played that so beautifully. I mean, I'm sitting here watching the scene going, damn. And he finally, relents and lets her act as, she holds out her dress to act as his bucket so that he can revert. And that's one of those where I'm sitting there going, maybe I'm judging her a little too harshly, but I mean, she wasn't Meryl Streep, but she was a nice lady. And actually, nobody else could have played that character, because you have to be able to pull off the gravitas and be ridiculous. And I don't think there's anybody they could have approached. And I still don't understand. I mean, Jean was still alive when her first few episodes on Next Generation. I don't understand why he didn't give her more room. Because Marina could have used the coaching. She wound up doing things, being fairly solid, but she could have used some coaching, and they just didn't really give her anything to do, which is really sad.
Yeah.
You want to know who gave her something really awesome to do? Joe Straczynski on Babylon 5. She played one of the widows of the Centauri Emperor, and she could see the future, and she was devastating. So that it took the competing franchise to give her some room to flex her muscles, kind of upsetting to me. Animated series, canon or non-canon?
Well, that was back in the days of the...
I have it on DVD 10 feet away from me. It's like...
Well, I mean, obviously, I was born 2 days after Trek's premiere, so I wasn't exactly watching it when it was on the original runs, but I grew up, the local, I think it was a CBS affiliate, used to do Trek-a-thons every once in a while. 8 episodes of Trek back to back from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. on a Friday night into Saturday morning. So you stay up all night, you watch those, you go catch hour's sleep or so, and you get up and watch Saturday morning cartoons, which included, Star Trek the Animated Series. So, it's just complete overdose of Trek.
We were both 6 years old when it started.
Yeah, but canon, I don't know. I
have to tell you, my biggest objection to TAS was the animation, because I mean it was filmation as maybe that far above a flip book that you buy at the corner drugstore.
These were the days of Hong Kong
The
Phooey and Hanna-Barbera.
No. It was this was filmation. It was down below Hanna-Barbera. This was sub Scooby-Doo animation, and I love Scooby-Doo, but the animation was not good. The animation in Star Trek animated series was horrendous, but the writing, for the most part, I mean, there are times you're looking and going, what the heck were they thinking? Let's give the world a 50-foot Spock. There was no explanation ever why this cloned Spock had to be 50 feet tall, or the escapee from the eugenics wars, who cloned himself several times and was also 50 feet tall. No explanation why they had to be 50 feet tall, but you look at an episode like Yesteryear, which had Kirk and Spock went through the Guardian forever, because apparently in the animated series they're just using this to randomly go and look at history and what could possibly go wrong.
Yeah.
I think you and I have written enough gaming adventures to know, plenty. In this case, Spock is erased from history. Comes back through with Kirk from their mission in the past, wherever that was, and they are met by an Andorian with inexplicably gray skin. They retconned him to be what they call an Enar, which was or part Enar, which is an Andorian subspecies that they introduced in Enterprise. But to explain the gray skin as opposed to blue. So Spock has to go back in time, because they discover, looking through the records, that Spock was killed at the age of 7 on a Vulcan maturity test. So he has to go back in time and save himself. This episode deals with things like parental interaction, because Sarek is as much of a jerk in the animated series as he was in Journey to Babel.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not a reflection on Mark Leonard. They just they wrote him as a jerk. He was a much better character in Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4. But dealing with parental interactions, peer pressure, euthanasia, because in this alternate timeline, Spock's pet Salot has to be put down, because he leapt into action to save Spock from there's a Lamacha, I think is what they call it, this big poisonous scaly cat thing, which could only come from a copper-based region of space. But I mean, you're putting this on Saturday morning TV, asking a 6 or 7-year-old kid watching it to deal with a 6 or 7-year-old kid on the screen making the decision to put his pet down with dignity.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty heady stuff for Saturday morning.
Oh yeah.
Much of the writing on the animated series was remarkable Star Trek. Just like the original series, they're not all gems, but I don't think any of them descended to Spock's brain. And I like the fact that on their website they're starting to treat certain portions of animated series as a fit, or at least existing.
Yeah.
Adosians, the 3-armed, 3-legged navigator guy was an Adosian. Caitians, the cat people. So it may not be canon, but when I was writing some of the stuff for the Star Trek Adventures game, I incorporated some of that into a.
Yeah. Well, in the 70s, the animated series gave them a lot of room to explore things that they simply could not do on live action TV because the effects were not there yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just opened everything up.
I thought the writing was extremely solid. Extremely solid Trek. Like I say, the animation was not Disney and Mel Blanc era of Warner Brothers.
No, yeah, that was still that was still expensive to do.
It was really expensive. I would love to see them do like they did with the original series and remaster it. Just get same voice tracks. You just take everything from the original episodes and give it good animation. If I had a few $1 million, I'd pay for that. But
yeah. All right,
and there you have it. There's the first segment. Guys, again, want to thank you for dropping by. Hope you'll come by later for even more of this conversation. There'll be other videos coming up soon. The usual helpful stuff. Do it for me. Do it for Barry. Go over and pay him a visit. Like I said, we're going to be doing this again at some point in the future. I'm trying to line up some interviews with some other guys in the industry. I'm also working on videos for gaming in the in some other TV worlds. I've got a segment on Ultraman coming up, the old 66 television series. I've got some more Star Trek Adventures things coming up. I've got plans on how to use Star Trek Adventures as the main engine for gaming in the worlds of the Orville and in Farscape. I've got a lot of other stuff planned too. So please come back. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.